It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
If you look at how the men and women did it, the men, the portal opened up the day after the round of 32. Same thing with the women. Men on Monday, women on Tuesday. Why can't they just do the day after the national championship game when the season ends, next season begins, then you open up the portal. All teams have completed play. All bets are off.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
And welcome in, a very happy Wednesday to you. It is Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, and I appreciate you stopping by as we continue into the month of April here of 2025. We've got plenty going on, though, across the sports landscape. It's Getaway Day in Major League Baseball, not to be well, I guess we shouldn't be that surprised given all of the interleague matchups that we've been blessed with here over the first week of the Major League Baseball season. A lot of teams that have spent the opening week on the road getting ready to finish up their road games and then, of course, hop on a plane and head back home for some opening weekend games for their home fans. And we've got a couple of games on the slate late tonight that we'll get to. Of course, the New York Yankees will have round 2 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's a game that a lot of folks seem to be very interested in. Will the Yankees bounce back or not against the Diamondbacks? They'll have to do it, of course, against Zach Gallen, the ace of the Arizona Diamondbacks, although he didn't look all that great in that opening game there. He did get beat around a pretty good bunch. A lot of barrels hitting the balls that Zach Gallen is throwing these days, and we'll see if he has figured some things out. But Carlos Rodon on the hill once again for the Yankees. He had a pretty good go of it there against the Milwaukee Brewers in the opening game of the season. We'll see if he can limit the Arizona Bats here, who, well, they didn't have a problem scoring runs at Yankee Stadium last night, and it looks like the Torpedo Bats just could not get it done for the Yanks. We'll see if they can get it done here in this one. Also, the NBA here tonight, not a lot of very on the marketplace interesting games, given the fact that I don't think we currently have one game. Well, actually, I'm sorry, we do. The Hawks and the Mavericks seem to be the only spread not in double digits here, although the Spurs and Nuggets kept going back and forth from 10 to 9.5, but a lot of double-digit underdogs in the association here tonight, including the New York Knicks on the second of a back-to-back, heading to Cleveland at Rocket Arena, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland currently sitting right around a 10.5, 11-point favorite there. A couple of nights rest for them as they get ready to make that push towards the postseason. The Knicks still without Brunson, still trying to nurse some injuries there as they look not to get blown out tonight. But the market, not a lot of close games if you're looking at this. The Rockets laying 16 over the Jazz. Then I would like to think the Miami Heat and Celtics is going to be an interesting game given the fact that it's at TD Garden. You've got the Miami Heat on a 5-game winning streak. The Celtics feel like they have not lost in a month, but they have never been a good bet at home as a double-digit favorite. And the Heat certainly playing some of the best basketball of the season right now. Longest winning streak of the season, coming off a 10-game losing streak, and then, of course, rattling off 5 in a row. They'll have their hands full tonight with the Celtics, but that line, 10.5, 11 points. The market seems to think the Celtics are the team to back here tonight. You got to think Wizards getting 13.5 at home against the Kings. The Pistons also getting 13, 14 points on the road against the Thunder. And then the creme de la creme is going to be the late night game where the Clippers are laying 17.5 points against the New Orleans Pelicans, who have basically shut down the entire team, the arena, the fans. They just basically have thrown the towel in on the season. And who can blame them when you are 21-54 in the season? You probably shut the season down a long time ago. But the Clippers, that is a big number to be laying at the Intuit Dome there in Inglewood. But you and I both know there are bound to be one or two of these big dogs that will not only cover, but in all likelihood, win outright, as that is why we love Game Time Decisions and, of course, the NBA in the final week and a half, 2 weeks of the regular season. Just when you think you got a handle on a team wanting nothing to do with winning basketball games, guess what? Now, the question is, which one of these massive underdogs has a chance of not only covering, but winning outright? We'll talk more about that coming up this hour. We still have some college basketball going on as that Crown tournament continues to push on through here. And that's, of course, a little controversy all week long with this tournament about whether or not the financial prizes being awarded to the top 4 teams. Is it a good thing for college basketball? Is it a bad thing for college basketball? Well, I'm sure if you ask Butler and Boise State, that they are all for the financial incentives of actually winning this tournament here at the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas. And that is the first game up here tonight with Boise State laying 8.5 here tonight, 154.5 against Butler. And that'll immediately be followed by Georgetown getting 9.5 points against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Another 154.5, 155 total is what we're staring at in that one. So still got a little college basketball going on here. And of course, we've got a Final Four coming up this weekend here with Duke getting ready to take on Houston. And of course, the all SEC side of the bracket there between Auburn and Florida. Just the second time in the history of March Madness that we are going to get ourselves 4 number 1 seeds vying for a national championship. Should be an awful lot of fun here coming up this weekend. College basketball still not done just yet, as we still have a couple of these other tournaments, including the championship game for the NIT at Hinkle Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow. UC Irvine, number 1 seed, came back against North Texas yesterday. They'll be taking on Chattanooga for the championship. So gotta love it. Just when you think you can turn the page in college basketball, they keep bringing you right back into it. And the NHL tonight, too. Nice slate of games. Don't get me started. Coming up, we'll talk to our good friend Cam Stewart here about the battle in Toronto between my Florida Panthers and his Toronto Maple Leafs as they get ready to drop the puck coming up top of next hour. And it's been, hasn't been great. The good news for the Florida Panthers is, well, they're not playing the Montreal Canadiens because that seems to be the only team they can't seem to beat these days. But they have owned Toronto over the last couple of seasons. We're going to see whether or not that continues. A battle for supremacy, maybe a number one seed heading into the postseason. That is coming up next hour. Much more also, though. Carolina and Washington is an intriguing game, as well as Minnesota and the Rangers. So a little something for everyone on the ice tonight. We got some unbelievably huge spreads in the NBA, plus a few Major League Baseball games. We're just getting started. Come back and join us here as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we're getting ready, of course, for a good night in the sports betting landscape here. A couple of Major League Baseball games still to get underway. A lot of day games, getaway games here today. Of course, we've got the Yankees and Arizona coming up, which is always fun. We got Boston and Baltimore, not to mention Atlanta and the Dodgers getting ready to go at it. Will Atlanta go winless this season? We're going to have to wait and find out there. Also, plenty going on the NHL here tonight, including some big games. Let's welcome in our good friend Cam Stewart to the show here, Cam. And boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, I made the mistake of turning on the Panther-Canadian game last night with about 2 minutes left in the third. And about 8 minutes later, I was yelling, screaming, throwing things. Was not a good night. But everyone knew Florida had Toronto tonight, and everyone kind of thought maybe this was a bit of a look-ahead spot. But I guess this is for supremacy, division supremacy for the postseason. Florida and Toronto, the game of the night. Cam, break it down for me.
Oh, Joe, it's going to be a good one. And you saw Montreal. Can you believe that? Suzuki, too. He scores late, scores in overtime. Montreal Canadiens, some things about sports we just don't get. They own Florida. It's just one of those things. They won the last 4 against these guys, the Stanley Cup champions. Montreal, just very fast team, and Florida has problems with these guys. Tonight, lots of hate here, Joe. Toronto, very talented. Florida, Stanley Cup champions. These guys hate each other. It should be ugly, fighting for position, as you talked about, heading into the playoffs. Both these teams are safe, but Toronto, too, playing a little bit better hockey. Florida, not their best. Should be a good game tonight, Joe. We'll see how the goaltenders play. I'm expecting a very physical hockey game. Every time these teams get together, I think there could be goals, but I don't know if they're going to play at playoff style and kind of wait for the other team to budge. But I do lean Leafs tonight just because I think they get up for these games with Florida. It should be very, very tight, though, as the line. Basically, it's a pick 'em, Joe. Very, very difficult game. But, you know, Austin Matthews is playing a little bit better. Florida, these guys, everybody in the league hates these guys, man. Like, I'll tell you, they like to rough it up. That's one thing. The Leafs don't want to get into like a fight or anything with these guys and try to turn it into like an absolute brawl. That's probably not going to work, but I'm expecting a tight hockey game. I lean Toronto because they're the home team. Other action tonight, Joe, interesting. People are still pricing the Rangers like there's some kind of good hockey or whatever, and this is simply a value play. I know Minnesota, they're in a playoff spot right now, not playing their best, but I got a 145. I guess it's been bet down a little bit. That could be concerning when you're taking the dog, but Gustafson's a good goalie. The Rangers, they don't score, and they shouldn't be laying this kind of number against anybody. Sure, you beat San Jose, big deal. Like, you know what I mean? The LA Kings smoked them too. So, but other than that, they've been playing very poor hockey. Minnesota wants to keep this game close. Joe, I don't know how you feel about totals. 5.5, it's there for a reason. I lean under, and I'm going to take the dog in this one. You got to give me over plus 140 with the Minnesota Wild against the Rangers. I'll take it. More of a value play. I'm expecting a very, very tight game, but you can't lay that kind of price with the Rangers. Vancouver tonight, they're playing Seattle. The Seattle Kraken have basically tapped out. They're a horrible hockey team. Vancouver, at least at home, they're probably not going to make the playoffs because the St. Louis Blues, Joe, did you see that last night?
Woo!
They scored with seconds left, and they win in overtime. 10 wins in a row. Nobody's singing the Blues in St. Louis. These guys are the real deal. They're finding ways to win every night. 10 in a row. That's interesting. But I'll tell you, Vancouver at home, Seattle looks horrible. I'll lay 55 cents. Joe, I usually don't do that in hockey, but I'm going to take a shot tonight with the Vancouver Canucks playing for the home crowd.
So talk to me too. Another game real interesting, of course, is anytime the Washington Capitals play, we should be looking at betting an over because they're doing everything in their power to make sure that good old Ovechkin can get this record. I think he's 3 to tie, 4 to pass here at this point. And it just seems like every one of their games is 5-4, 4-3. It's always an over. Cam, how are we not going over with Carolina and Washington here?
I do lean over, Joe, and also just bet Ovechkin every night to get a goal.
Every night.
That's the kind of thing you got to do. He's doing it. Carolina's a tough team, but still, the Washington Capitals are looking to get Ovechkin this record. He's going to play on the power play. He's going to be hanging out in front of the net. He has a lethal shot. We know that. So extra ice time, especially when it comes to the man advantage. Hell, if they get a 5-on-3, it's almost an automatic goal for this guy with his one-timer, Joe. So, yes, Ovechkin will break Gretzky's record. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but if you're going to get this guy every night he's plus for a goal, I'll take it. Could be difficult against Carolina tonight, but it's one of those things, Joe, you just have to ride out because I have a feeling he almost will score in every game. The team wants him to get the record. He's playing really, really well. So, yeah, Washington could be live. They're a little bit of a tired hockey team. They've been playing a lot lately. So, Carolina, you don't want to lay 220 with these guys, but I expect
Oof.
goals in this spot. You could be onto something, Joe. I see like a 5-3, type of hockey game here. I see offense and very, very little defense.
Yeah, and I definitely see a over 1.5 in the first period. Let the scoring begin, people. That is what I'm talking about. Cam, interesting here. I want to take a look ahead quick. We've got the San Antonio, the PGA warm-up before the first major and the Masters coming up. But as far as looking ahead towards the Masters and what you saw last week, have you added anything to the future market here with this Masters? What do you think we're going to see heading into next week?
Joe, I'm actually, I hope you don't laugh at me, but these live guys are coming over and some of them are playing really, really well. I got a bet boost on DeChambeau. I found 22 and I hit it. I put $50 on price of DeChambeau 2-1. I know his first trip to Augusta is a disaster, but every year we talk about it, the progression is there. I think he knows how to manage that course. Watch out. Phil's playing well. Sergio won. These live guys have a lot to prove, and we talked about this before when I came on GTD with you. I think it's going to be a very interesting tournament. You want fireworks. A lot of people like Neiman, but the one thing is Joaquin Neiman is one of the best golfers in the world, but Augusta, it's one of those things you have to learn over time. Like, you know what I mean? Debutantes and young players, you're going to make some mistakes there. There's a lot of nuances, so we'll see. But I like Bryson. I think he can win.
I like Sergio, and we'll keep it rolling. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart, as all we can do is laugh here as Major League Baseball is back in action here, and teams once again finding it difficult to either score runs or stop other teams from scoring runs as we're our first week into the season. Thank goodness, Cam, we got our first major coming up here with Augusta just around the corner. But we do have, of course, one more warm-up tournament happening here. What are we thinking here with this tournament? I've heard some I've heard some names I haven't heard in a long time for this tournament in San Antonio this week. What are some of the guys you're looking at?
Well, Joe, it's an interesting thing. I did a hit with Carver, and kudos to Mike Carver here at the network and Keith Stewart, who had Minwoo Lee last week. I jumped on board, not at the same price that they got. And Carver also hit first-round leaders, which is good. So tune into the SportsGrid golf coverage. These guys, not me last week, but the other guys did really, really, really good and won a lot of money. But Joe, you know this. This is the tournament where guys are on the bubble. You win, you get into the Masters. Corey Connors won when he got into the Masters. JJ Spawn. So it's one of those things. Ben Griffin's right on the number. 51. The top 50 get in. That's why a lot of people like him this week. So interesting stuff. Will they have the power? Will they, some guy gets over the top and gets that ticket to Augusta? We will see. But here's the deal, Joe. I don't get Jordan Spieth in a field like this at 28-1 very often. And I know people are saying he's fine-tuning his game, this and that or whatever. But I'm like, okay, he's almost 30-1 and he plays great on this course. I'm buying in. It's one of these things. I'm buying the stock very low with Jordan Spieth, 28-1. I know he wants to win at Augusta, but good tune-up. Dangerous Denny McCarthy lost in a playoff to Ash Kapatea last year, as you remember, Joe. This guy does everything right. He checks all boxes for me this week, 32-1. One thing about the Valero, as Pharrell says, the gasoline tournament. A lot of wind. It could be there. Sam Stevens, he loves to smash balls into the wind. This guy is a great wind player, 52-1 and in good form. Joe, this is the SportsGrid consensus pick this week. I'm on it. K-Stew's on it. Carver, everybody. We all love Bud Cauley. Smoking some buds at 55-1. And Ryan in the foxhole. Watch out for the crafty New Zealander. He looks more like a football or Australian rules football player than a golfer, but he's playing great at 90-1. Now we got some interesting top 10s here. Corey Connors has won this tournament twice. So as Prime Minister of Canada, I will take Corey Connors at plus 180. And Tommy Fleetwood, Carver called him a loser today. I don't say he's a loser. He just doesn't win, but he's top 10s at plus 175. Top 20s, Burger Time. Your boy from Florida State, Joe. He's playing really, really well. A lot of people like him to win this week. I'll just do the plus 140 for a top 20. And Tommy Kim, kind of a ghost these days, but I'm in this field. I'm like, you're going to need plus 150 for Tom Kim, who will do well with this type of course. Top 40s, Hoagie Sandwich has been in contention many times before here, plus 105. And our good friend Eric Cole, he doesn't win, but he's in great form the last few tournaments. He's plus money for a top 40. First round leaders, this is where we love to dance. This is my thing, Joe. First round leader, let's put money in our pocket and throw it into Joe's Sergio Garcia bets for the Masters. Joe loves El Nino. Tommy Fleetwood, 32. Corey Connors, hot starter, 33. Kashmir Keith Mitchell almost won last week, 60-1. Jake taking an afternoon nap at 70, playing great golf. We got a couple guys. Rogers at 80. He's a Cal guy, but he loves Texas courses. Eric Cole, 90. And Sammy Valimaki, the big Finn, whose cousin plays for the Utah Hockey Club on the blue line. But this is the Finnish golfer. He looks like a hockey player. The guy's massive. He's 100-1 for the first round lead, Joe. Let's go get it. Little sprinkles. Hopefully we can get some money. And then you know what we'll do, Joe. Instead of wisely investing into the bank, we'll throw it into our Masters bets. Just more units.
Yes. And it really does feel like it's the out of sight, out of mind with the live guys for next week. And the value is there. And I know there are a couple of props on whether or not a live guy wins the Masters. It's worth a bet because the talent coming over and the current form of some of those guys that you mentioned wouldn't shock me at all if a live guy wins the Masters here this week.
Look how good these guys are playing. Neiman, Hatton, your guy Garcia's on fire. Hell, Phil's playing well. We're not even talking about DeChambeau, other guys. John Rahm, this guy's always in. There's a lot of good players live, Joe. I'm with you. And these guys right now, nobody's even talking about him. I think your Sergio Garcia pick, I'm not sure if he's going to win, but like a top 10 or 20 to good plus money, like he's a dangerous player and he's in great form and he's played Augusta a million times. He knows the nuances of the track.
Course history matters with this major. That is for sure at the Masters. Should be fun, Cam. Appreciate it as always. Let's cash those tickets. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Wednesday now, April the 2nd, as we have said goodbye to March. But that doesn't mean we've crowned a national champion yet in college basketball, both the men's and the women's side. Final Four time here coming up over the next week or so. We will have national champions in college basketball. The question is, who's it going to be? And in order to help us get there, the two guys that have been doing it all season long for us, stepping in again as CT Bets, Chris Thurston in the house, as is the Wizard, Mr. Kenny White. Gentlemen, welcome in. Can't believe it. Here we are, Final Four down the stretch. And it's only fitting, I think, this year, with how top-heavy we've gotten with all this realignment and NIL and everything else, that the 4 number 1 seeds are going to battle here. So we're guaranteed a number 1 seed to win the national championship, CT. We'll start with the early game. Florida taking on Auburn. It's the all-SEC side of the bracket. 2.5, I think, is what we're seeing here with Auburn. We are also already saw this, obviously, as Florida, I think, went there as a 10.5-point underdog and ends up waxing them. But here we go, round 2. A little revenge for Auburn. What do you think we're going to get in this one half of the semifinal?
Yeah, Joe, I was up early this morning. This touched 3 for a couple hours, and I did grab some Tigers +3. Went back. It's mainly 2.5. Florida juiced almost every shop right now. And Joe, you brought up that early February game. I think it's important when you're looking at this game to throw that game out the window. Auburn had a really tough night shooting, missed a lot of free throws, and that happens in college hoops. We see that all the time. And I really like what I've seen out of this Tigers team in this tournament. And this is a team, right, that a lot of the analysts were predicting to exit early, Joe, right? If you recall, the Auburn as the 1 seed was the 1 seed that wasn't going to make it very far. And Pearl and company has proved everybody wrong. I give the Gators all the credit in the world for surviving all the scares that they've had. But I think they're kind of playing on borrowed time here. If it wasn't for Clayton Jr. playing at such an elite level and, hitting all these circus shots, we wouldn't be talking about him right now. And I think it's important to point out, I don't think very highly of head coach Todd Golden. Hurley and McCaslin the last 2 games had his head spinning. And I'm not saying Pearl is anything to write home about, but I would take Pearl over or Golden any day here. He knows how to motivate the guys. He knows where to put the right guys in the right spot at the right time. Seems like Broom is going to be just fine. I think he'll probably be a little sore. They'll shoot him up on Friday. Should be as good as new here. I think Auburn is better defensively, and I think it's pretty significant. And they're better coached, like I just said, and slight opinion on the bigs. Broom and Cardwell over Condon and Chinulu. It would be I want those guys in my corner over Chinulu and Condon. So I think that they're going to give if Chinulu and Condon don't have a good night rebounding the ball, I think it's going to be a really, really tough night for the Florida shooters here. Both offenses can score. We know that. Auburn has the edge defensively, so that's good enough for me to take the points here, and I think Auburn has a real shot to win the game.
Kenny, it feels like we don't have a whole lot separating these two teams here. To me, just take a coin and flip it. I don't know where you're looking at it here. To me, it's all going to come down to who has the ball in the last 2 minutes and who makes shots and who doesn't, I think, ultimately. I don't see either team running away with this game. What do you think we're going to get?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a coin flip game. I like everything that CT said. Throw out the first game. It didn't matter. We're so far past that. These teams have peaked, and they're still maybe peaking. That's how good these teams are. It's amazing, the Final Four. This Final Four, all 4 of these teams, maybe the 4 best teams in college basketball history. I don't know if I've had any other teams rated this high. These 4 teams would all be favorite over the last 2 Connecticut National Championship teams. And the players continue to get better and better every year. But this game, CT hit it on the head. Better defense, slightly better defense, not much better, but slightly better. Offenses are pretty comparable, but I really think that motivating factor is that win at Alabama or at Auburn, because I've been was in coaching a long time, and I see it all the time in betting sports that you wouldn't think that would matter this game, but Auburn's had a stone in their shoe since that game, and they couldn't wait to get Florida again, and here they are. Florida's walking around thinking, we're the best. We beat those guys. We'll do it again. And you just don't work hard enough sometimes because you get overconfident. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I haven't bet it yet. I would like to get 3. I'm looking for 3. I may have to wait in game, and hopefully Florida takes a 2-0 lead, and I can get 3 or 3.5.
It does feel like a game where the number you're going to get is going to be best after one team makes a run for sure here. It is going to be, I almost wish Florida was the second game with Auburn instead of the first game here. It would make approaching it a little bit easier. But let me ask you this, Kenny, do you think the total continues to rise here, or are we going to get a little bit of a buyback and maybe a little more towards the under? I know a lot of guys looking to back the under because of how well these two teams know one another. What were you thinking with the total?
Yeah, they're both so great offensively, and they both like to push the pace. The first game was 74 possessions. The one positive for an under would be it's being played in a dome and in San Antonio, and it's at the 50-yard line, which makes the shooting a little bit more difficult. And it's shown over time, 3-point shooting's down a little bit, but 2-point shooting definitely hurts. It's really about 3% off on 2-point shooting, and then even free throws in these big cavernous stadiums are down. So on average, it's actually about 5.5, 6 points total in the championship round, in the Final Four. Before this, in the Elite 8 and the Sweet 16 in these cavernous buildings, it's actually worth 9 points to the betting total. It's on average 9 points lower than the average games in that round. In this round, it's just 5.5 to 6 points lower, but it's lower. So I am leaning to the under, but I didn't bet it because, again, 2 teams that love to push the pace, and they're both great offensive teams.
162 is an open, 159.5. I'd be shocked if we don't get the 160 again before it's all said and done. All right, guys, we're going to talk about Duke. We're going to talk about Houston. But CT, let me ask you, no matter who wins these games, is the winner an SEC team, or is it from the other side of the bracket when it all said and done, do you think?
Well, I'm hoping it's not an SEC team for my future. That Houston 12-1 and 10-1. But Joe, the SEC, we've seen it all year. I mean, they've been dominant. Probably the best conference that we've seen in a really long time in college hoops.
To me, I think a lot depends on who wins that Duke-Houston game. And the question is, well, these guys are going to break it down for us coming up. We'll talk Duke-Houston, and we'll figure out who the ultimate winner is going to be, plus the women's side, as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions. The Final Four is almost here, which means Kenny White, CT Bets in the house, helping us decide which way to go coming up here. And we talked Auburn and Florida. Now let's talk the other side, of course, the two number ones, Duke out of the ACC and Houston out of the Big 12 there. CT, I know you got a future bet on Houston to win it all. It feels like this number is way blown out of proportion. I even saw fives here for Duke. And I don't know that the public's going to run to the window for Houston. What are you thinking in this game?
Yeah, Joe, something that I haven't heard talked about at all, and a lot of people forget, is this is your friendly reminder. This is a rematch of last year's Sweet 16. Okay. And there's 7 or 8 of these Cougars that are on this current team that were on this team last year. And about 5 of them played significant minutes in that game. So you think that Sampson's going to let them remind them about that one? I think they have nightmares about that one still. They lost by 3 to Duke last year. This team's really experienced. Sampson, as you know, was one of my favorite coaches of all time in college hoops. I think they're going to have Sampson's going to have these boys ready to go. It's the best team he's ever had, and also the best offensive efficiency team he's ever had. I think the best backcourt in the country. All 3 of those guards shoot it over 40% from deep. They all handle the ball very well. They create shots down low. People are saying that Houston's not going to be able to score. I beg to differ. Look what they did to that Vols D. They absolutely shredded them and created shots, and they got theirs. Houston, you said it best when we were off air. They are the best defensive team in the country. They take the rhythm out of the offense for every team they play. They make it real tough for teams to get it down low. And Blue Devils are very good. There's no question about that. They're playing at an elite level. 4 to 5 pros on that team, and they could fill it up like the best of them. And their D is decent, but the Vols D is a lot better. And the Houston guards will be able to create chaos for the Duke D. And when they do miss, they have the best offensive rebounder on the floor, and Joseph Tugler, who's also the best player, just named the best defensive player in the country, the Tugboat. I think the experience finally catches up to Duke here in the big stage. Guys like Cryer, Sharp, Roberts, Francis, pretty much everybody that plays in the rotation for Houston has been in the big light before. And I think it's a pretty big coaching mismatch, Joe. I think Shire will be a good coach, but Sampson, he's been here before. He hasn't been able to win this game yet. I think the time is now or never, and you're going to give me 5.5. You're not going to see Duke go in there and blow doors like you're used to seeing.
Kenny, Houston had 4 losses this year. None of them were by more than 5 points. In fact, all 4 losses, an average of 3.5 points. So they don't shoot themselves in the foot or shoot themselves out of games. They're the number 1 3-point shooting efficient team. I don't think they have to go out of their minds to keep this thing close or win it outright. What do your numbers tell you?
Yeah, I don't either. You guys, you've really talked me into it. I've been leaning to Houston, and it's an important point about strength of schedule. And I talked about this is why I bet Alabama was because of strength of schedule. Alabama played a far better schedule, and you're right. Duke has blown out a lot of bad basketball teams, and I try not to overrate that or overgrade it, but I've continued to upgrade Duke's rating, and it's the highest rating I've ever had on any team in the country. But man, this Houston team is so good, and I think Kelvin Sampson's one of the best teachers of defense in the history of the game. When you look at how good his defenses are year in and year out, they got 2 guys that come off the bench, Wilson and Arsenault, that are fabulous defensive players. I mean, their rotation, every guy can play defense. So you brought up the point. Duke has never faced a defense this good. The defenses that they have faced that are really good, they lost 2 of those 3 games, and the other one was a close one. And Houston plays close games. So I didn't want to add the revenge factor from last year's loss in the NCAA tournament, but I'm going to do that. I got to do it because I always like to just say, I like to go with my numbers. So if I add that 2.5 points for that revenge factor, I'm playing Houston, but I love the game under. Absolutely love the game under. Duke slowed down Alabama because they didn't want to run with him, and I was kind of shocked at that. Duke wants to run a little bit, but Houston is not going to let Duke run. These are 2 great defenses. This is going to be a game that's going to be played at 58, 59, 60 possessions. It's going to be a low-scoring game, points at a premium. I really like that Houston and under parlay as well, I'm going to bet.
Love that, Kenny. And CT, let me ask you, you had it up there. You got Alabama and you got Houston. Now, they're both underdogs getting points, but if that's your national championship game, man, who wins?
If it's Houston Auburn, like I want it to be, I think Houston wins the game. Like Kenny said, it made a lot of good points, like I did as well. And Sampson, I really just can't be high enough on him, and Sampson over Pearl and the experience in the national championship game here. I'd have to go with Houston, but it's not going to be an easy task to get past Duke, Joe. And another thing I wanted to bring up, remember last year in the national championship when it was Duke and Purdue, and we were talking Final Four. And a bet that I made, and that it seemed like a really, really square bet at the time, was the exacta, and that was betting UConn over Purdue in the national championship, minus 110. That was before the Final Four. There's nothing like that you could do with these four teams. These games are going to be unbelievable.
Kenny, who's winning the women's national championship? Is it UCLA? Is it who's taking it down?
I think it's UConn. Love that team. Paige Beckers, she's a great player, but their center, Strong, is a freshman. She just tied the school record for most double-doubles. Connecticut's loaded, but we're going to bet the dog. We're betting Texas, plus the...
Woo! You heard it here. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. As you heard it there, some great stuff from the Wizard, Mr. Kenny White, and our good friend Chris Thurston, CT Bets. Some agreeing opinions. I think we all talked each other into taking the points with Houston here as that thing continues to be the public darling. A lot of money coming in on Duke, as much as 5.5 points at one point here this week. I think there will only be more Duke money, public money, coming in as we get a little bit closer to Game Time here in a couple of days. So I don't think you have to be in a rush to bet Houston just yet, because I do think that public money will come in. And I know the pros are just waiting for it too as well, waiting to see if that thing can get pushed up to maybe 5.5, maybe 6, and then come back in here. The reality is Houston, those Cougars, 4 losses this year, all by 5 points or less. They average loss in those 4 games, 3.5 points. This is the number 1 shooting, 3-point shooting team in the country. And it's not even close, by the way. In fact, Duke hasn't faced a truly elite 3-point shooting team. And the ones that rated in the top 50 this year, they went 2-2 straight up against. Don't forget. The teams that they faced that were top 50 3-point shooters, Kentucky, Clemson. Oh, what happened? They lost to Kentucky. They lost to Clemson. They did beat SMU, and they did beat Virginia. So what I'm telling you is that Duke is a tremendous team. It's going to be, I think, final possession one way or the other. But Duke this year, when they've played the truly elite defensive teams, they lost 2 or 3 games there. They lost to Kansas. They lost to Clemson. And they beat Auburn by 6. And the argument could be made, Auburn beat itself there in a lot of aspects there. And don't forget, they also, when they played truly elite 3-point, or at least the top 50 in the country 3-point shooting teams, they lost those games. They lost to Kentucky, they lost to Clemson, but they did beat SMU and Virginia. So any which way you cut it, comparing this Houston team to, I think, anybody that Duke has played this year would be a mistake. And while I do think Duke should be the favorite, my numbers have them at 2.5 3 points, not 5 or more. I think there'll be plenty of value looking to back the Houston Cougars in that Duke game. And I do think, of course, the total and the under is a no-brainer. Duke is not going to want to get out in transition and run. That's not what their game is to begin with. And Houston doesn't get dictated. You're not going to dictate pace on Houston. Both these teams will be content on making it a half-court game. I don't think it comes even remotely close to 136. I think 130 at tops, and I truly believe the winner of that game is going to be the first one to 70 points, to maybe even 65 points, and that's it. I do think it's going to be that kind of rock fight, a lot of defense, and maybe the best game we're going to get of the remaining 3 games. We have, of course, Florida and Alabama. We've got Houston and Duke, and then the national championship game. But something tells me that Houston-Duke game might be the best game we get the remainder of the tournament as we look to crown a national champ. You guys know I'm a big believer in Florida, have been all season long. I think when it comes down to it, I think Florida has proven they are never out of it, and that when the game matters the most in the second half, when it does matter, they've got multiple guys that they can put the ball in the hands of and feel confident that they'll be able to win the game. And I think that's the difference right now between Florida and anybody else. The depth and just that ability of having been pushed and having been dead in the water in games like UConn and Texas Tech, and to be able to pull it out and come back and fight and claw and get the stops and make the big buckets, that is a level of confidence that not a lot of teams have heading into the Final Four, and ultimately, I think, what is going to be a championship game. So I think we are buckle up. It is going to be an awful lot of fun here in a Final Four weekend, but we got much more going on across the slate. We have updates in Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL. Another hour straight ahead here on Game Time Decisions. Come back and join us.
Hey, sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Here we go. Game Time Decisions, another hour together here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we've got NBA action here tonight. Not a whole lot of, well, close spreads except for one, Atlanta and Dallas. Outside of that, most everything else looks to be double-digit favorites across the board here tonight in the final couple of weeks of the regular season in the association. Great slate of games in the NHL, and we got a handful of games that remain in Major League Baseball. It is a getaway day after all. I know the Yankees getting ready at their second game against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we'll welcome in our good friend Mark Zinno in the house. And Zin, you got to love it here. Yankees tonight taking on Arizona. Rodon versus Zach Allen. Zach gave a lot of barrels, shall we say, in that first game out for him. Rodon was pretty good against the Brewers. I keep seeing the total creeping down, and it wouldn't shock me if it hits 7.5 here. But are we getting a pitcher's duel here tonight in this one?
Well, Rodon is really good at home, right? And has been. It was all of last year. So he won his first start at Yankee Stadium to start the season, and I think there's reason to look to back him again, but I would only do it first 5. This Arizona lineup is good enough to keep coming at you for 9 innings, and if you can get a reasonable price on Rodon in the first 5 innings, either on the run line or the money line, I think it's worth a look. That's probably the way I'd go. As you said, Gallen historically has not been the same on the road, right? He just has been a different pitcher away from home. So if you wanted to go in that direction, I think you could look at a first 5 play for the Yankees at minus 142 on the money line. Not terrible. It's a little bit above my juice tolerance, but if you wanted to go run line, you'll get the Yankees minus 102, minus a half run, probably the direction I'd look.
Yeah, that game coming up here, just a few first pitch. The other game actually just underway, top of the third right now with Boston and Baltimore. It was Crochet on the mound against Eflin. And I think everybody was looking in some way to back the Red Sox and Crochet here on the road against Baltimore. Were you leaning one way or the other?
I played the first 5 under, Joe, and I got it before the line moved down to 4. So I got it at 4.5 this morning, and we're at top of the third, 1-0 here, 3 hits combined. So you had to know that Eflin, who's been good at home, has had success against the Red Sox throughout his career as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays and last year the Orioles. And, of course, Crochet faced the O's last year and was dominant in a game that he lost, where he only gave up 1 run. So That was the White Sox last year.
Yeah, that was. I can't wait to see this guy with a team that can actually give him some run support, Crochet. I think it's going to be an interesting season for sure with him. Of course, everyone is wondering what's up with the Braves, man. I mean, it's early yet, but are they going to go winless this year? Here, I'm just asking for a friend. And
I think they might win a game at some point in time. In fact, Joe, a pizza bet for me on the Braves money line tonight. Why not?
Ooh.
I mean, I would think that they're not going to lose their first 7 games. I know Blake Snell is on the mound. 2 things. One, I would also look at a Blake Snell walk prop at 3 or 2, 3 or more. You're going to get plus money there. He walked 4 batters in his first start. Walks have always been his bugaboo, despite the fact that the Braves aren't hitting the ball. They have the 3rd highest walk rate in baseball through the first week. So they're getting guys on that way. And you got a guy who walks a lot of batters. Might not be worth if you're into the prop market, Blake Snell, 3 or more walks. But I just kind of believe that baseball regression is what it is. And that at some point in time, the Braves, even if they only score 3, might get good enough pitching finally to win a game. Again, not expecting much, but just kind of playing the percentages here that the Braves won't lose all 7 of their games. They obviously don't want to go home on Friday to their home opener winless, which is probably what nobody thought would happen.
Yeah, and going to be interesting here, but they will get healthy and they will be just fine when it's all said and done there. Freeland against Wheeler tonight, and already a week in, and we're laying $3 with Philadelphia. Please tell me you took Colorado.
Joe, I mean, tonight, you talk about big spreads in the NBA. Tonight, I think there were 5 or 6 games that were at least minus 180 or higher, this being one of them. I don't know that you can, bet against the Phillies in this spot. Would I look to a Phillies team total? Maybe in that market. It might be lower than what it was pregame, considering that they're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. But, I don't know. I'm not going to bet against Wheeler at home. He was too good there last year.
He was really good there, in matter of fact here. But you look at some of these, other games. Like a great weekend series coming up here too in Major League Baseball. A little strange that we got so much interleague to start, and we've got these teams that are packing up and heading home now for their, basically their homestands finally there for their own fans. The Giants look unbeatable here. The Astros look terrible. I mean, what's a surprise team or two for you that you've seen early on here?
I mean, again, the surprise is that teams like the Astros and Braves aren't hitting. That's the Astros' problem. Pitching hasn't been bad. They're just not hitting the ball. I mean, you look at the Astros and the Braves, they're bottom 5 in batting average, OPS, and WRC plus to start the season. I'm screaming this as loud as I can, and I hope bookmakers don't hear me, but I am keeping a very close eye. I've done it for the 2nd day in a row now. Balls seem to be flying out in Sacramento. I just played the over after the first game I saw there, and I'm like, you know what? I wonder how the ball is going to react in this ballpark. Not a physics major, but I do know when the stadium isn't 3 levels high like Major League Baseball ones are, the wind picks up the ball a lot quicker. So we saw the Cubs, and look, maybe the Cubs can just rake, and maybe the A's pitching is just bad. I'll wait to see a little more, but I'm certainly watching the A's at that park in Sacramento and looking to play a lot of overs before they get to the Coors Field type 10.5, 11 numbers.
Yeah, you know what? Tampa too is another interesting situation all year worth keeping an eye on. Not now, but when it's July and it's 99 degrees, that's going to be interesting.
The biggest thing in the first 2 series, they faced the Rockies who can't hit and the Pirates who are not hitting it and typically didn't hit last year either. So those are 2 lineups. You got a lot of unders because they were winning 6-1 or they were winning 5-0, right? So the game wasn't going over because the opponents they were playing, but I'm also monitoring George Steinbrenner Field and how the ball is going to react there in those ballparks and trying to stay ahead of the market on it before we get 3 weeks into the season. And odds makers are going, maybe we have to start bumping the totals up in these ballparks.
I agree. And I'll tell you this too right now. That pitching staff, again, really good for Tampa, but they're not in the air conditioning in the end of June, July, and August. They're going to be outside in 100 degrees. So I don't know that they're going to have the same kind of effect that they might. I'm just saying.
So, air and
that's
ball's
a
going to be moving.
big difference.
Yep.
Big difference there. All right, the NBA here tonight. The only game that I saw with any juice was your Atlanta game. taking on Dallas. Atlanta on the road. It was the only game in single digits, and I can't run to the window and lay double digits with Boston at home. I don't care. It's just never been profitable.
No, it's not. And Boston, but they are a bit of freight train as of late. Their 9 straight wins, only one of them, Joe, was under a 2-possession game. So, they were easily winning all these games, and they're playing their best basketball right now. I'm not stepping in front of Boston and betting Miami in this spot, especially when Miami's offense is as bad as it's been as of late. I mean, their team total, I think, was only like 98, and I think it probably still goes under, but just too low of a total to be under on. I looked at the Knicks team total under against Cleveland at 109.5. They get Mitchell Robinson back, but still no Jalen Brunson. Both previous meetings this year, they only scored 105 and 104, and that was with Jalen Brunson in the lineup. So this is a limited Knicks team right now. I don't think the Knicks really care about their seeding, whether it's 3 or 4. They know they're going to get home court advantage in the first round. That's enough for them. So Knicks team total of number 1 on that.
Mark Zinno, always a pleasure, my man. Game Time Decisions continues here on the grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we are off and running here on the slate of games tonight. The NBA action, a little bit of a head scratcher with the market right now. A lot of blowouts. If you just look at the spreads is what we're anticipating, but you know what happens when you get all these games that are supposed to be not close. One or two of those ridiculous dogs not only cover, but they usually end up winning outright. So here to do a little dumpster diving with us is our good friend Adam Kaufman. Nobody likes swimming in the dumpster of the NBA double-digit dogs quite like Mr. Kaufman here, who, if I'm not mistaken, Adam, you got your eyes on New Orleans. We'll get to that game here, but just a terrible slate when you look at all of these big numbers, but there's no way they all cover here. Adam, the law of averages tells us that ain't going to happen. So what's the one that caught your eye the most?
Well, so that's the thing, right? This is kind of ridiculous. I can't remember anything like it. You mentioned earlier, talking to Zinno, and just alluded to it now, the fact that all but one game on a pretty massive slate is a spread in single digits. I know Denver, that contest, depending on where you look, there's still some 9.5s out there, 10s in other places, but we have got just massive favorites across the board, which honestly, if you're a money line parlay better, kind of like I am a lot of the time, that's kind of your dream. But what you're trying to do is, you call dumpster diving, like our buddy Cam would say, Cam Stewart, or there's just like, look for the fly in the ointment. Who's going to screw it up? And so that is the question, which you're right. Not everyone is going to cover. I'm not certain, honestly, that everyone is going to win. Teams like, the Thunder, the Pacers, the Clippers, the Rockets, like there's no excuse for those teams to not win. But if you were to even want to parlay those four teams, you're still barely getting, minus 300. So it's not like the odds makers are in your favor here. You need to put like 7 of these teams together to even get to even money. I think the Celtics do win. I'm not sure I would take them with the points. I think that the Heat are ultimately, apt to keep this game close. Boston, for anyone that missed it, this came out just a little while ago, very shorthanded. This is a little bit of built-in rest, and it didn't move the line all that much. Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, that's 3 of the team's top 7 guys are not playing in this contest. And so that much more emphasis, obviously, on the likes of Tatum and Brown, clearly, but how about Peyton Pritchard looking at overs for him? Derek White looking at overs for him. These guys to get involved. And I think Hero and even Bam Adebayo on the other side are, good plays to keep this game close. So I wouldn't take the Celtics. I do think they win, but I wouldn't take the Celtics laying the points. I would be more inclined to back Miami there on that side. And, what's wild is the Sacramento Kings, this game that just got underway in Washington. The Wizards are as openly tanking as anybody out there in the NBA, but the Kings are not a particularly good team either. What's nuts, though, is they are 6-1 this year straight up as double-digit favorites and laying, 13.5 in this game here tonight. So I think you kind of have to side with the Wizards with the points, but Sacramento should win this game as well.
And it just came across that Jokic out tonight against San Antonio after that 61-point triple-double that he got last night in a double overtime losing effort. But call me crazy here. San Antonio, it was, I think, 14.5, 15 was the look ahead, but now I'm seeing 3.5. You want to talk about a wild swing, huh? Adam, what do you think of that one?
Man, 3.5 you're seeing with the Jokic news right now? I
my goodness.
I got to see that with my own eyes as well. So because you're right, it was 14.5. I'm just looking at it here. It was, it's just sort of ballooning. Let me see. I'll pull up one of the books real quick.
Now to 4.
The movement is. That's crazy. That is insane movement. I realize Joker is a unicorn and obviously.
But I'm betting Gordon ain't playing either.
That'll be SGA. But yeah, God,
I bet you Gordon's out too.
Denver. Yeah, but obviously Jamal Murray's going to play, so that's one. I don't know. I guess depending on what's locked right now, I'd probably rush to the books and bet over on Jamal Murray props. Not so much the assists, but the points, because that scoring obviously for Denver has to come from somewhere. I'd go over on Christian Brown as well. He is the sneakiest, quietest double guy, or double-digit guy, I should say, across the NBA. I'm not sure he's had single digits in a game yet this year. Maybe one time. He is just a consistent performer on in the shadows essentially of Jokic and the rest. But man, you're right, like Gordon could obviously sit after he played last night. We saw Porter didn't play last night, but Murray is the guy that I think you need to back in this situation. And Castle on the other side with Novosel, I think Castle's a guy who probably gets it up around 20 points, which is fittingly where his prop is. Maybe, I don't know, take it down to 15, do 15 plus for him and 20 plus for Murray, put them in a parlay together and get decent odds on that. That might be a decent way to approach it. But man, that is a ton of line movement in this game, obviously, off of one major piece not playing. That's wild.
Yeah, and it's tough too to look at like the Oklahoma City Thunder at home taking on Detroit, laying 12 and a half, 13 points with two teams that we already know what's going on with them. They're both heading to the postseason here. I don't know how much effort one way or the other we're going to get from OKC, but Cade Cunningham has not been there, but they're going to keep him out with a lot of other guys. It's all about attrition here. They got to stay healthy for the long run in the playoffs. And man, 12 and a half, 13 points is a lot of points to be laying with some of these home favorites.
Yeah, I don't think I would. Again, I have the expectation that the Thunder win this game. I don't think I'd lay the points, but really, I don't want to take Detroit either with no Cade, as you mentioned. So to me, it would probably be more of a stay away. I'd look toward the prop market in this game because the thing about the Thunder is, you're right. They have nothing to play for down the stretch here. They were locked into the top seed, obviously, in the West by a wide margin. Nothing's going to change. But they've got young guys, young legs, and Dagnall keeps just throwing them out there. They keep running teams into the ground, getting themselves ready for the postseason. I think that continues.
Yeah, and don't forget, we got suspended players on Detroit for fighting. So we'll have more when Game Time Decisions returns here on the grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. We welcome back in our good friend Adam Kaufman as we're just laughing with the dropping of the line from 9.5, 10 as the Denver Nuggets were at home tonight. Second of a back-to-back after going through that grueling double overtime loss to Minnesota last night. The Joker gets ruled out, and it goes from 10 to about 3.5, which is just laughable that he's even worth that many points here, Adam.
operating the same way, and I just looked more a little deeper into it. So listen to this. The Nuggets are resting, quote, most of their players. Jokic is out. Jamal Murray is out. Michael Porter Jr. is out. Aaron Gordon is out. Christian Brown is out. Peyton Watson is questionable. These are the G League Nuggets that are going to be playing this game. I mean, honestly, now all of a sudden, I think you actually need to take the Spurs, maybe even sprinkle the money line. I think San Antonio is live to win this game. Who's playing in this game? Like, is Russell Westbrook playing out of punishment after the way last night's game ended? He misses the layup and then obviously, fouls the guy to lead to the game-winning free throws. Like, he's the only guy that's available for this game tonight. Maybe you'll get a throwback Westbrook performance because there's nobody else available. But now it makes more sense. I was thinking Jokic is godlike. I get it, but is he really worth 5-6 points on the spread? Oh, they ruled out their entire starting lineup. Now I get it.
Yes.
Now that makes more sense.
Yes.
So I think San Antonio actually wins this game. What's our best number on the money line in this one? It's sitting on FanDuel at where is it? Plus 136, plus 3.5 with the points. If you didn't want to have quite the, I would play the money line. I think you need to take the San Antonio money line in this game. That's crazy.
I agree. It's worth a shot since they won't be rolling anybody out that anybody knows. They might even be pulling guys out of the stand here in order for them to suit up for Denver tonight.
Don't do that.
Also,
people tear their Achilles or ACLs
Good
or whatever.
point.
Did you see that guy in the crowd last night? Where was that, in Atlanta? Tried to participate in that contest. Dude went down trying to put a layup in. He had to be stretchered off the floor.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like your mind says, I got this, and your body was laughing at you as you went up for that layup. It was pretty funny. By the way, the Knicks out to a big 18-10 lead. In-game number now, Cleveland laying 6.5. They were laying 10.5 to start. A quick burst here for New York has them up 8 with 6.5 to go in the first quarter. I kind of like 6.5 here now for the Cavs. No,
I'm seeing 4.5 now, so even better. Yeah, I mean, if you're on that side of things, I think you need to jump on it. I do absolutely believe that Cleveland wins this game. I wasn't necessarily comfortable taking them laying the points pregame when we're getting like so many of these games we were looking at double figures. But this is a Cavs team that, I mean, you could make the case that there's not a whole hell of a lot at stake on either side. Definitely not for the Knicks. They're locked into the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're not going anywhere. Cleveland does, even though I don't think there's quite enough time, because again, we're at 6-7 games left in the regular season at this point. I don't think there's quite enough time, but mathematically, Boston is breathing down Cleveland's neck. It's only a 4-game difference right now in the Eastern Conference. And obviously, if the Cavs did stumble tonight and the Celtics do what they're supposed to do and win that game against Miami at home, fresh off a 6-game trip and winning all of them, and the 9 straight wins that began with a game against the Heat, fittingly enough, all of a sudden you're talking about 3 games and then the Cavs, who are not quite battle-tested to the degree the Celtics are, maybe it does start to get a little sweaty. So I think the Cavs, who are healthy for this game, you mentioned it, no Brunson, obviously, on the other side. He's been out for the Knicks. It's Towns and the other guys. I think that Cleveland, between Mitchell and Garland and Mobley and Allen and all these, they're going to find a way to respond. And so, 10-point game right now. You want to hop on Cleveland minus 4.5. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jumped right in on. I liked them at 10.5, and I didn't get it in, but now I like it much better at 4.5 here with about 4 minutes to go in the first quarter there. And then, of course, the 17.5, 18 number with the Clippers in New Orleans. I so bad want to take New Orleans out of principle, but this is probably a 30-point Clipper win, and we'll only see half a game from Kawhi and Norm and others. So just some of these numbers, Adam, are getting so out of hand here down the stretch. Be very careful. Almost in-game betting is the better way to go. Adam, we'll see you. Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by here as we've got Major League Baseball underway here. Yankee Stadium, they find themselves in the hole already, 2-0. And Arizona threatening again here in the top of the second with a couple of runners on and nobody out. The NBA also underway here tonight. We told you, of course, the Knicks 29-21 now over the Cavs there. 2.5 to go in the first quarter, getting ready for Miami and Boston to tip off on this one on this night here as both teams come in on great winning streaks. And, of course, Miami needs as many wins as they can to solidify their spot in the play-in. And Boston going to have to go out without Porzingis, without Horford. Does look like Brown is going, but no Holiday here tonight. Either way, I'm also seeing the total get hit to the under as well. So we'll keep you posted on any big line movements there as we welcome in our good friend Brady Cannon in the house here, which means I can smell Augusta. It's just around the corner, Brady. We know it's almost here, but we got to get through San Antonio this week first. Another one of these tune-up tournaments here heading into next week's first major at Augusta. And I have all week long been hearing some interesting names associated with maybe winning this one. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty darn good field. You've got a few names at the top for sure. Ludwig Gobert, Corey Connors, who's won here twice. Jordan Spieth is in the mix, Tommy Fleetwood. But, I skirted all those guys and went down a little bit deeper. The first or the shortest shot I landed on with Denny McCarthy at 30-1, who's had a really good year, comes in off of a couple consecutive top 20 finishes. He's had a top 5 finish earlier this year. He's finished top 20 twice here at San Antonio. And last year, he lost in a playoff. He was the runner-up, lost in a playoff to Akshay Bhatia. So, McCarthy has a really good history at this course. He is already qualified for the Masters. There's 27 guys in this field, Joe, that are qualified for next week. If anybody else wins this week besides those guys, they get into the field at Augusta next week. But, there's sometimes the handicap, like, are some of these guys just going to go for a couple days of practice and then get to Augusta and worry about the Masters? I don't really feel that for too many guys in the field, if any, this week. And I think McCarthy, even though he's already in the field next week, he's still looking for his first PGA Tour win. He's done extremely well at this golf course in the past. That close to winning it last year. I think he's focused on playing well this week, and he'll worry about next week when the time comes.
So let's start with what we usually look at here, Brady. In years past, what are we anticipating the final score to be? Is this Birdie Fest USA? Is it going to be a little tougher? What do we think we're going to get here?
I'm not sure, because the weather is really strange. You've had a couple days in the forecast. They're expecting possible morning thunderstorms. You've got temperatures ranging from like the mid 60s to the low 90s. So you're going to have like a 30 plus degree, spread here over the course of 4 days. And it looks like 3 out of the 4 days, you're going to have a fair amount of wind as well. So I think it's going to be really screwy as far as what this weather pattern looks like for the next few days in San Antonio, Texas. It's good that the basketball guys are playing indoors, because outdoors is going to be interesting. But the winning score, because of the weather, this golf course is very weather dependent. You can understand in that part of the country. I've seen winning scores here anywhere from 10 to 12 under par all the way to 20 under par. And this week here at the Superbook in Las Vegas, the number is 17 and a half. That feels a little bit high to me. With the way the weather forecast looks, I'd be leaning towards the under. I'd take 16 under for one of my guys right now and see where that gets us.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for you here. So you've got we've got a whole lot. Some guys obviously trying to boost their records and an eye ahead to Augusta. We talked about it last week, where we saw guys like Rory and Scotty Scheffler, non-signature event, playing a couple of weeks out from Augusta. Are there any chalk and big names we should try to avoid this week here?
Maybe Fleetwood. He's the one, and maybe Jordan Spieth as well. I think Spieth is really still trying to find his game, but I saw a report earlier from BetMGM today that Jordan Spieth, of course, local kid, hometown game for him, being a Texas native, number one in most popular ticket count, number one in handle, and the biggest liability across the board for BetMGM is Jordan Spieth. And that's usually a bit of a red flag for me. The other one is Tommy Fleetwood. This guy's been around the block a few times. He's got multiple wins worldwide, still looking for that first PGA Tour win. But I really think he feels like he has bigger fish to fry, and he may be looking ahead to next week a little bit. I think he may be in the tune-up mode and not necessarily looking to slay this golf tournament. But after that, I think everybody's pretty much here to win it, even at the top of the board with Oberg. He played here a lot as an amateur, went to college nearby at Texas Tech, and he's played here before a number of times. So I think he's pretty focused in as well, and will be trying to, just put another notch in his belt as far as, what he's accomplished so far on the tour. He's only played the Masters once. So how much is he really, looking ahead towards that and not worried about still building his PGA Tour career? So I think everybody is pretty much in it to win it this week, except for maybe a couple guys. Back in the day when Brooks Koepka would show up here, we knew he didn't care, and Ricky Fowler and some of these guys. But this year's field, I think, feels different. The rest of the guys, I went further down the board. I took Bud Colley at 45-1, who comes in off of a 4th place finish at the Players and a 6th place finish at the Valspar. Lee Hodges, who's had 2 top 10 finishes this year and comes in off an 11th place finish at Houston. Andrew Novak at 66-1. The guy's really been feast or famine. He either misses the cut or he finishes top 10. I'm hoping he has a top 10 week this week. Rico Hoey, number 1 on the PGA Tour in total driving. Hits it really long and really straight. I think he could be a good play. I've seen him as high as 80-1. And then finally, in the neighborhood of triple digits, Victor Perez, the Frenchman, his last three finishes have been 18th, 22nd, and 18th. He's 13th or 16th rather on tour in driving accuracy. And that's really what it boils down to here. Good work off the tee, good long iron approach play, and take care of the par fives. These 4 par fives at this golf course are very, very difficult. If you can score on the par fives here, you're going to separate yourself from the field.
So that's not the only tournament going on, obviously, and you mentioned it. There are a lot of Live Tour players that will be descending upon Augusta next week, and they got a tune-up game down in Miami, don't they, as well there, Brady? And we're talking some big names showing up here on the Live Tour in Miami. What are you thinking?
Yeah, big names at a big boy golf course right in your neck of the woods there.
Yep.
Trump Doral, the Blue Monster, stretched out to 7,700 yards now. Last year we landed correctly. I know. Can you even imagine? We landed correctly on a big hitter last year in Dean Burmester. I didn't go with the Dean this year, but I went with another really big hitter in DeChambeau. I took Bryson DeChambeau at 9-1. Sergio Garcia at 16-1, one of the hottest players in the world right now. We were on him a few weeks ago when he won in Hong Kong, and then a little bit of a longer bomb, Carlos Ortiz at 30-1 for Live Miami.
I love that. Actually, I'm looking forward to seeing that more than I am the San Antonio one. Just 7,800 yards just makes me laugh. But it should be a fun. It should be a fun tournament, Brady. We'll talk to you again on Friday, my man. Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in Game Time Decisions on this first Wednesday of April now, and we are off and running in the NBA. We've got some NHL action, a couple of college basketball games. One of them underway right now at Boise State and Butler, part of the Crown Tournament in Vegas. Major League Baseball as the Yankees trying to claw their way back in to this game in the Bronx. They're down 4-0 early in this game. And the good news is coming up in just about 16 minutes or so, in-game live will take over, and so will Scotty Wetzel. He joins us here. And Scotty, I love this night. We got a little something for everybody here, including in the NBA, where everything's supposed to be a blowout, including the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, who just got underway here. It looks like they've exchanged a couple of buckets, but I think that one closed 10.5-11 Boston. Both teams on winning streaks here. Not a whole lot on the line, really, for either team, but what were you thinking here?
Yeah, a couple things, Joe. You're right. Miami's actually covered 7 in a row. So as good as Boston has played, and they've been just terrific. 6 straight road wins, which I was told today was the first time in their franchise history they've had 6 straight successive road wins. In other words, 6 straight games, all that were on the road. So they're playing terrific, right, in playoff basketball. Miami's playing for their playoff lives, seedings-wise anyway. So I'm going to grab the Celtics, though. They're at home. They've been beaten up on Miami over the years. I do like the over as well. 211 was the number. And again, all these numbers are really close. Like you said, they just tipped off. So give me the Celtics, Joe. I think they're going to keep it rolling here. They're the better team. And I'll go with the over as well. A little parlay action. How about that for you?
All right, like that. The only game I think that was single digits tonight was the Hawks and the Mavericks in Dallas. I think Dallas was laying 3.5. But my goodness, that was the only game that the market thinks is going to be relatively close. What are you doing with it?
Yeah, it's amazing the numbers that we're going to have to lay. This is big boy action tonight if you want to play the NBA, at least if you want to play the favorites anyway. I'm going to go over, Joe. Anthony Davis is in the lineup for the Mavs tonight. At least they're not saying he's out, so I'm assuming he will play. But we're going to go, as you see there, over 239.5. Dallas, a very quiet 11-1 over their last 12 games. They've been putting points on the board. We know Atlanta can score with the best of them. They just gave up 130 or so to Portland the other night. So no doubt Dallas should be able to get their points. I think Atlanta will get their points. It's a big number, obviously, right? It's not a point spread, but it's still a big number to go over. But, when it's 125-120 with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, you'll be thanking yourself you went over. So give me over 239.5.
Over 239.5 in that game. And then, of course, the late game, Scotty, which is laughable. I mean, 17.5, 18 points. I almost feel like I have to take New Orleans on principle alone here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a big number. Joe, you got to have a reason to beat a team by 20 points, right? I did look. I was hoping it was a look-ahead spot, but it's really not. They play Dallas next in the back-to-back. Here's the bottom line. Look, it's a hunch play, right? We all have to play hunches. New Orleans, for whatever reason, 9-1 against the spread their last 10 games against the Clippers. So you don't obviously have to win. Yeah, give me the 17.5, and maybe they keep it semi-close.
Interesting. All right. How about on the ice tonight, Scotty? Did you look anywhere? We know we got the Panthers and Toronto going here. Was there anything that tickled your fancy there tonight on the ice?
Yeah, I'll forget about the first game that I was going to bring up because that's down 3-0. But the games 2 and 3 were the winners anyway. So here we go. How about over 5.5 Seattle, Vancouver, Joe? I love these trends. Ooh. Last 12 meetings between the two teams, 11-1 over. They're neighbors, natural rivalry, Seattle, Vancouver. So no doubt some empty nets. There'll be some fighting. There'll be some power plays. Over 5.5 Vancouver and Seattle. And then we're going to go over 6.5 Colorado, Chicago. As bad as Chicago is, you can't lay minus 380 on the Avalanche, on the road, no less, right? So how about over? Chicago, 10-1 over their last 11 games at home, where this one is. Colorado's coming off back-to-back losses, so they're going to get an honest effort. They're not going to look past Chicago. They got to get back on the winning side of things. They're good for 4, if not 5 goals. I'm counting on 5, and I think Chicago's probably good for 2 or so. Let's go over 6.5 in that one.
Over 6.5. I love that. And by the way, does Atlanta go winless this season? Is that something you're willing to bet here? Or do they get one tonight finally against Blake Snell?
No, they won't go winless, but I wouldn't doubt the Dodgers go undefeated. That I'm willing to bet, believe it or not. I mean, they are. Joe, I was up last night. Right? I was kind of tired. I'm usually up to like 1:30 in the morning, right? And they were down 1-0 fifth inning, and I got the Dodgers, and I'm like, you know what? This has got like 3-1 Atlanta written all over it. So all right, we went 6-0, so no big deal, right? And I wake up this morning and I see the Dodgers won again. I mean, they're just a machine, Joe. They are just a machine. I had them the other day. They were down against Detroit 5-3 in extra innings, and they ended up winning 8-5. They've been not only have they been winning, all but one of their wins have come by 2 runs or more. They're covering the puck line. They're covering the run line, Joe. So, don't fight it, people. Lay the 1.5 if you don't want to lay the big number tonight, which I understand. Take the Dodgers minus 1.5 with their best pitcher, maybe their best pitcher on the hill.
It feels like if it ain't broke, Scotty, no point in fixing it at this time, right? So don't fight it. Lay the 1.5 in that one. Diamondbacks out to a 4-0 lead over the Yankees here. I did like the over in this game here tonight. What were you leaning with in this one?
Yeah, the over. Exact same thing, Joe. The over. The way the Yankee bats have been, whether it's the torpedo bat, whether it's psychological, who knows what. But it was only 8.5, and maybe even 8 in some circles, depending on where you did your shopping. So I did like the over on that one. I think the Yankees even down 4 runs is worth a couple of shekels.
I'm with you. Actually, going to look at that in-game number here in just a minute, but you're going to have in-game live coming up here, Scotty, top of the hour. Plenty of great stuff here, not only in Major League Baseball, but the NBA, the NHL, college hoops. A little something for everyone. We will see you here shortly as Game Time Decisions wraps up next here on the Grid.
Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you hanging with us here on this Wednesday now, April the 2nd. Much going on across the sports universe here. A couple of NHL games underway right now with the Wild out in front of the Rangers in a high-scoring first period, 2-1. Wow, look at that. Hurricanes, 3 quick goals in the first on top of the Capitals. 3-0 is the end of one there. The game of the night, though, the Florida Panthers taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs as number 1 seed at stake here. And the Panthers have basically owned the Maple Leafs in a regular season over the last couple of years. But the Panthers have been struggling, second of a back-to-back. They just lost last night in overtime fashion, in ugly fashion, to the Montreal Canadiens. I believe Barkov was a late scratch in this game as well, as the Maple Leafs at home at Scotia Arena going, you know what, it's a new year. Maybe it's our year. Well, we're going to find out. Nothing in that one there. Also, in Major League Baseball right now, the Yankees getting dominated, still 4-0 in that game. How about the Red Sox? Garrett Crochet throwing zeros up on the board right now as the Red Sox are up 3-0 on the Baltimore Orioles in Baltimore. The Phillies have a 2-0 lead over the Colorado Rockies at home. Zach Wheeler on the mound, their ace here tonight. And, of course, still one game getting ready to go a little bit later, and that is your world champion New York Dodgers. Los Angeles Dodgers. Would have been Brooklyn, and we could have rolled the clock back here. But, yes, it is the LA Dodgers taking on the Atlanta Braves, and I swear everyone seems to think the Braves are going to win a game this year, but I don't know that it's going to be tonight. Blake Snell on the mound for the Dodgers taking on, well, let's face it, does it really matter who he's taking on there? Elder, I think, Bryce Elder is going for the Atlanta Braves, who are now 0-6 on the season, trying not to start 0-7. Not a great scheduling situation for them, as they obviously had to head west and play a series against the Padres, who once again dominated here today. I believe that game is final there. Padres 5-2 over the Guardians. So the Padres, listen, they're not going to win the National League West, but they are doing everything in their power to make it uncomfortable. They too 7-0 on the season, as they just swept the Cleveland Guardians here, hitting the ball really, really well. Jackson Merrill, I believe, just signed an extension. Feels like just yesterday he was a rookie, but he is a rookie no more, as a long-term deal locking him up in San Diego. So good stuff from them. And how about the Mets and the Marlins heading to the 11th or 12th inning right now? 6-4 Mets on top of the Marlins in extras. We'll see what happens there. The Mets are like, get us out of South Florida. I heard this Miami team's supposed to be terrible, and yet here we are in a knockdown, drag them out fight. It feels like each and every game against them. They lost last night. They don't want to lose again here today, but 6-4, they're in the bottom of the 11th inning with Miami coming up to bat. As far as the NBA, we've got Boston and Miami going on right now. 17-16 is that score about 4.5 minutes ago in the first quarter, as Boston was laying 10.5, 11 points when that game started. And how about the Knicks are just smacking the Cleveland Cavaliers 58-45. It's a 13-point lead. Wow, as the New York Knicks now a 2.5-point favorite. They were a 10.5-point dog, and now they are a 2.5-point favorite in that one there. Washington and Sacramento 53-44. They got about 2 minutes left to go in the break. We got still a couple of games coming up tonight with Utah and Houston in the 8 o'clock hour. Houston laying 15.5, and you don't have to worry because we have got you covered across the board here, as In-Game Live is coming up next. Scotty Wetzel, Dave Sharapan and company, they will keep you abreast of everything that is happening across the scoreboard here as we work our way towards the Final Four this weekend. We're that much closer to crowning a national champion. Enjoy the games tonight. Game Time Decisions. We'll see you again tomorrow on the grid.